If I had a dollar for every time someone stood in an RV lot, pointed at a fifth wheel with a fireplace and a residential refrigerator, and said, "This is the one," without asking themselves how they're actually going to live in it, I could have retired a lot earlier than I did. I spent 17 years as an Army contracting officer. My entire job was evaluating whether a purchase actually matched the requirement, not the flashiest bid, not the biggest number on the spec sheet, the one that actually did the job it needed to do. When my husband and I started shopping for our own rig, I ran it through the exact same filter. And it's the filter I want to hand you today. Because what's the best RV is the wrong question. There is no best RV. There's only the right rig for your budget, your lifestyle, and where you're actually headed this year and 5 years from now. Let's break that down into 3 questions in order, because the order matters. Question 1, what can you actually afford? Not just to buy, but to own? Most first-time buyers price out purchase and stop there. That's the mistake. Your real budget has 4 layers. Layer 1 is the purchase price, and I want you to negotiate that separately from everything else. I've got a whole video on PDI fees and dealership add-ons if you haven't watched it yet, because that number on the windshield is rarely the number you should pay. Layer 2 is the tow vehicle or the drivetrain. If you're buying a travel trailer or fifth wheel, does your current truck actually have the payload and towing capacity for it? Fully loaded with water, gear, and passengers? A lot of buyers fall in love with a trailer that's technically towable by their truck on paper and miserable to tow in practice. If you need a new truck to make this work, that's not a future expense. That's part of this purchase. Layer 3 is ongoing costs. Insurance, storage if you're not full-timing, there's maintenance, tires, propane, campground, or membership fees. A bigger rig isn't just a bigger sticker price. It's bigger numbers in every one of those categories, every single year. Layer 4 is the repair reserve. Something on an RV will break. Not might, it will. Budget for it before you need it, not after. So before you fall in love with the floor plan, get honest about all 4 layers. What you can afford to buy and what you can afford to own are 2 different numbers, and the second one is the one that actually matters. Question 2, how do you actually live? Not how do you picture yourself living. This is where I see the most expensive mistakes. People buy for the trip they imagine taking twice a year, not the life they're going to live 50 weeks a year. Ask yourself honestly, are you weekend camping a few times a season, or are you full-timing? Are there kids or pets in this picture, and how much space do they actually need versus how much space sounds nice? Do you need to be able to set up and tear down solo? Or is there always 2 of you to handle stabilizers, slides, and hookups? How handy are you? Because a rig with more systems is a rig with more things that can go wrong 200 miles from the nearest dealer. And be honest about your comfort ceiling. Some people are perfectly happy boondocking in a teardrop with a cooler for a fridge. Other people need a real bathroom, real counter space, and a bed they don't have to convert every night. Neither one is wrong, but buying the wrong one for who you are actually is how a rig ends up sitting in a driveway after 1 season. We tow a smaller, expandable trailer, and that was a deliberate lifestyle choice. Not because bigger units aren't nice, but because we wanted something we could tow through mountain passes and up the Alcan Highway without a second thought. Something that's simple enough that when something does go wrong, we can usually sort it out ourselves on the side of the road instead of waiting days for a service appointment. That trade-off, simplicity and towability over square footage, was right for how we actually live. Yours might be the exact opposite, and that's fine. The point isn't to copy my answer. It's to ask yourself the question. Question 3, and the one almost nobody asks, where is this headed in 5 years? Buy for your near-term future, not just your current trip. If you're planning to go from weekend trips to full-timing within a couple of years, buying a rig that only makes sense for weekend trips means you're buying twice. If retirement travel is on the horizon and you know you'll want to go further, longer, and further off the beaten path, factor that in now. Even if this isn't that rig yet, think about terrain and range too. A rig that's perfect for state park loops on paved roads is a very different animal from one that needs to handle gravel forest, service roads, mountain grades, or long boondocking stretches without hookups. If future travels include rougher terrain or longer off-grid stretches, that changes what you need in ground clearance, suspension, tank capacity, and solar. And think about resale. Even if you plan to keep this rig for a decade, life changes. A rig that only fits an extremely narrow use case is harder to sell later than one with broader appeal. That's not a reason to buy something that doesn't fit you. It's a reason to lean toward the option that fits you and still has flexibility in your plans to shift. So here's how I'd actually run this decision. Write down your real 4-layer budget. Ceiling first. Purchase, tow vehicle, ongoing costs, repair reserve. Then write down your honest lifestyle profile. How you camp. How you picture yourself camping. Then write down where you expect to be in 3 to 5 years. Now go look at rigs. Every floor plan you're tempted by, run it against all 3. If it fails even one, that's information not necessarily a deal breaker, but a real trade-off you need to go in with your eyes open about. The rig with the best floor plan on paper is not the same thing as the right rig for you. I've watched people buy the impressive one and sell it 18 months later at a loss. And I've watched people buy the modest one that fit their actual life and use it happily for a decade. The second group did the homework I just walked you through. That's really the whole difference. If you're in the shopping phase right now, I've got resources linked below to help you. Walk into a dealership prepared, including my dealership guide that breaks down exactly what to negotiate and what to watch for. I've got a full series coming on everything from PDI to warranty protections to what I wish I'd known before we ever hooked up a trailer for the first time. I'll see you in the next one.